Hi! Welcome to episode 3 of the Samsqueak craftcast. I am Sam. I am coming to you from my home just outside the city of Chicago, where I live with my 2 little boys, my dog, and my husband. Fair warning, if you hear some like muffled moaning, sobbing, or all-out screaming, my youngest has decided that he doesn't need to nap today. Right now. So I'm going to try and get through this and hope he goes to sleep, and we will see how it works out. Guys, my child's not going to sleep. He's like screaming at me. So I'm going to go be a good mom for a minute and see if I can get him to nap. I'll come back. Alright, don't go anywhere. Alright, we're going to try this again. The moaning, the screaming seems to have stopped. So, take 3. So yeah, we're going to jump in to my first little segment today, which is finished objects. And I don't have a lot, but I do have what I'm wearing. So, I showed this during episode 2. This is the Free Yourself Shawl by Tony at TL Yarncrafts. And I mentioned, oh, like a floaty right in front of my face. I mentioned during my last episode that I won a copy of all 13 of her patterns, which is amazing. And I had actually been eyeing this pattern for a while, so I put that first on my list of things to work on, and I cast it on, or what is the word for crocheting? You don't cast on. It's not really knitting. It's not the same. I don't know. I started it. I hooked it. There should be a word. Is there a word for that? Please tell me. So I started it like 2 days after I won the pattern, and I think it took me about a week to finish it total, working on it very intermittently. It's super fast, super easy, very beginner friendly pattern, and it also includes a chart, which is great if you have not done chart reading. I highly recommend this as one of your first charts because it's yeah, it's just a really well put together pattern. And I'm really picky about my patterns, especially paid for patterns, which, I mean, I didn't pay for this one, but it is a paid for pattern. It's available on Ravelry, and I think maybe she has an Etsy. I don't know. I try to keep everything to Ravelry just so I don't lose my patterns. Yeah, so I'm picky about paid for patterns. If I'm going to pay money for a pattern when there are so many free patterns out there, then I want the pattern to be really well written, to look really professional, to not have mistakes, to just be something that's worth me spending my money on. So, highly recommend this one. Definitely worth spending your money if you are looking for a warm, cozy triangle scarf, shawl, whatever they're called. So I will show it off to you. So I was like 90% done with it in the last episode, so it doesn't look significantly different than it did. I did add a tassel. Tassel. So I was skeptical of the tassel situation. Wasn't sure that I am a tassel person, but I decided to go for it. I tried it. I figured I can always take it off if I don't like it, and I like it. So I kept it. The pattern calls for 3 tassels, one on all the ends, but because I was using a Karen cake for this, I knew I wasn't going to have quite enough yardage to finish the full pattern. And I do have a second cake in this colorway. This is the honeyberry color of just the standard Karen cakes. I do have a second cake, but I'm having a hard time finding like one skein Karen cake patterns that I really like, and so I didn't want to break into the second cake to use like less than a quarter of the cake, because then I'd just be left with almost a full cake of yarn, and I figured I'd have a really hard time finding a pattern that would use that up without me having to buy more. And yeah, so I cut the pattern short by 4 rows, which is not a big deal to me. It's still huge. I mean, it's fine. The ends are maybe a little too short. Like, it does sort of kind of fall off sometimes, but it's not a big deal. And if I get really desperate and like absolutely need it to stay in place, I can pin it. So anyways, I made all 3 tassels, but because it's a little shorter, I didn't like the way they were looking on the shorter, because the ends are just too high. It looks weird to have tassels like in your armpits. So that is my Free Yourself shawl. I love it. I play with the tassel like all day when I'm wearing it. Oh, and I added this little bead to the tassel. You see that? I don't know if it's focusing well. Yeah, so I had these little glass beads in my stash from, I have no idea. They were probably on sale, so I bought them because I have a problem with things that are on clearance, so I have to buy them even if I have no purpose for them. So I had some beads, and I loved that the blue matched really well, so I'm really happy with it. I'm very happy with it. I've worn it a lot since I finished it, so, but it's really warm and cozy, and I love the color changes, and I love that it color changed itself and I didn't have to weave it 1,000 ends. So yeah, if I could design my own color way, I would not do the yellow. I mentioned last time yellow is not my color. I'm too pale for it. But they did not ask me when they designed this colorway, so I'm really happy with it. And I think there's enough blue that the yellow doesn't make me look too washed out. So even if it does, I love it, and I'm going to keep wearing it. So that is finished object number 1. Number 2. I mentioned last time that I was doing a test crochet for Capital Crochet on Instagram, and she was looking for testers for her Artemis Toque, it's called, which is kind of a semi-cabled, I'm not sure I would really call it cabled, but a textured double-brimmed hat with a pom-pom. So I showed the yarn for it last time, which is the Lion Brand Scarfie in mint and gray, mint and silver, I think. So it's a bulky, fuzzy yarn, and I love it. So I'm going to put this on. I'm really happy with this hat, but I think I look kind of funny in hats, so we're going to see what my hair situation does after I wear it. So it keeps me warm, so I'm really happy with it. Yeah, so there we go. This is my Artemis Toque. I'm really happy with it. It's super warm and cozy, and the double brim is so nice, like my ears actually stay warm, and I'm not freezing every time I go outside. So I'm really happy with it, and I've kind of given up on caring whether or not I look a little funny in hats, because I would rather have a warm head. So that's my Artemis Toque. My giant fuzzy pom-pom. I like, the pom-pom is mostly gray, but there's like a teeny tiny bit of mint. I don't know if you can see it, if the light is too much behind it. And then this is the textured, so like I said, it's not really cabled, it's just straight lines made with front posts. And yeah, it's double brimmed here at the bottom. I don't know if you can really tell on the camera, but so it's made super long and then folded over and doubled up to keep your ears warm. So I'm really happy with it. It was super fast. I worked it up in one evening while we watched a movie, and I love one-day projects. because I have a problem that I can't stick with a project for too long. I get bored really fast. So I really like things that I can do in one day while I still have the energy for them, and then move on to something else. So Capital Crochet, the pattern is out now. I believe it's available on Etsy. It might be on Ravelry. I think it might just be Etsy though. I don't know. I'll double check and I'll put the links below in the show notes. Yeah, I'm really happy with it. So if you're looking for a good double-brimmed hat, which are all the rage in the knitting world, but if you don't want to knit in the round, which I do not like to do, then yeah, you can double brim your crochet. So that is finished object number 2. I think that is all my finished objects. I have a suspicion that this craftcast is just going to be highlighting the amount of projects that I start and don't finish in a timely manner whatsoever. So I have quite a few projects that I've showed you as works in progress in the last couple months, and a large number of those I have not touched since I showed them in the podcast. I need to get better on that. I have at least 2 scarves that I need to finish. I think there's some other stuff in a pile somewhere that is just my like sleeping works in progress that I started and had all the energy for, and then saw another pattern that I had to start and moved on. So yeah, I'm gonna try and be better about that. Keep me accountable, maybe. Like, send me a comment and be like, hey, what happened to that one thing you started a long time ago? Are you going to finish it? And then maybe I will pull it out from the sleeping basket and finish it up. So we'll see. Okay, so moving on. Works in progress. I have 3. I have 3 works in progress. 2 of them I did not have the last time because I started something new. So I decided I wanted to make something for my boys for Valentine's Day. And I did this for my first son when he was 2. Yeah. No. Almost 2. How old was he? It was a while ago. He's 4 and a half now. So I made him a little robot, amigurumi, because we decorated his nursery in robots when he was born, and so he has like robot themed everything, and that's just kind of stuck. So he loves robots now. He didn't have much of a choice at the beginning, but now he's really into them. So I wonder if that's down here. Pause. Let me go look. Hang on. I found him. I wasn't going to show this, but I might as well. So I made this little Ami for my son for Valentine's Day a couple years ago. So here he is. He's a little robot. At the time, he called them boobots. So this is his boobot. He's well loved and a little bit sad now. Got a kind of floppy head. Yeah, so I just made him up. I didn't follow a pattern. And he is cute and I like him, but yeah, he's seen better days. So I decided to make some new toys for the boys. So I asked my oldest son what he wanted, and he told me he wanted a superhero and a bug. And I told him he could pick one, and that I wasn't making a bug. So he's getting a superhero. And I really like amigurumi, and I like to design my own patterns a lot of times. And then sometimes I just like to let other people do the hard work of designing and ripping out and figuring out how you actually want it to look. So I am using 2 patterns that I did not write So for the superhero, I have, this is the Weebee standard size doll, which is a free pattern on Ravelry. It's super popular. There's like over 300 projects on Ravelry of this doll. And they have a ton of outfits to go with it. So the doll itself is free, and then there's a ton of outfits and like secondary patterns that are paid for that you can use that are made to fit this doll. And my other kid is coming downstairs. Hang on. Hey bud, what's up? Okay, where was I? This is like the episode of Interruptions. So this is the Weebee Doll, the Weebee standard size doll. So it's worked in one piece, which is fun, except for the arms, which are going to be sewed on. And it's worked from the bottom up. So you start with the feet, and it's got its little body, and I'm now working on shaping the head. So it's going to be pretty decent size. I mean, that's a good sized doll, especially compared to maybe. It'll probably end up being about the same size. So this is a standard doll, and I'm going to buy the superhero pack to make his outfit. So that is work in progress number 1. I've been really happy with this pattern so far. I actually downloaded it from Ravelry, and then I downloaded it on my tablet, which is where I usually work from on my projects. And then today I was working on this in the car waiting for pickup, and so I re-downloaded it onto my phone, and apparently she'd done an update like in the last week. So the pattern looks completely different. It's really good though. It's really been fleshed out, really beginner friendly for an amigurumi pattern. Lots of detail, lots of explanations. So yeah, really good. I'm really happy with it. What I'm not really happy with was I wasn't really paying attention when I first started it, and I was working it inside out, which I guess doesn't really matter in the long run, but it bothered me. So you can tell, let's see if we can do this, the inside of the stitches looks like that, where it's got that line and the bar right there. Whereas the right side of the stitches looks a little cleaner. So I kind of argued with myself on whether or not I was going to mess with it, and I finally decided to go ahead and flip it. But I'm working the invisible decrease on these, which involves only working through the front loop. So when I flipped it, then it's worked into the back loop and there's a line. So here on the feet, right here, you can tell that there are lines on the tops of his feet, which I'm not super thrilled with, but he's going to be wearing superhero boots, so I don't care enough to fix it. So I hadn't really done the invisible decrease before. I'd seen it, I'd tried it a little bit, and I was doing it just based on the pattern recommendation. I was doing it completely wrong, guys. Like, I just kind of read the instructions, I kind of skimmed them, and I was like, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I was doing it completely wrong, and I was like, this is so hard. Why is this so hard? This should not be that hard. So I finally went and actually looked up a tutorial for it, and I just wasn't doing it right. So some of the decreases are a little wonky and not quite as invisible as they should be, but I really like the invisible decrease because it doesn't make that hole that a standard single crochet decrease does when you are working amigurumi, so you don't have as many like bits where the stuffing comes out. So I'm making this with I Love This Cotton by Hobby Lobby. I don't know what this colorway is because I lost the tag. Just a standard, like, pale people's skin tone. But I really love I Love This Cotton for amigurumi, especially for kids, because it holds up really well. This is robot is also made with I Love This Cotton. It's a really soft cotton. It's the softest cotton I've ever worked with. It's not like sugar and cream, like dishcloth cotton. It's really soft. I use it for baby stuff all the time because you can wash it and not really worry about it. And it's, I don't know, I just like it better than acrylic, and it's not like scratchy like Red Heart. I've also used Simply Soft for Amis, but I don't know. I'm just really into the cotton. It gives it a nice structured look, and it's soft and durable. So that is work in progress number 1. So he needs a head and some arms and then a superhero outfit and hair. About orange yarn for the hair to match my orange-haired child. That is work in progress number 1, living in my tiny little bag that I showed off a couple last episode. Yeah. And then number 2 that I'm making for the little one is Little Bear's Crochet Tall Dragon is what it's called. So this is his head. So he's cute. He's gonna be big. I think the pattern was written for sport weight, and this is a worsted weight or closer to an airing. So I think he's gonna be massive because it's a tall. He's shaped kind of similar to this guy, but like way bigger. So yeah, I'm curious to see how big he's gonna turn out to be. I typically do much smaller amigurumis, so this might be one of the biggest ones I've ever done. So yeah, but he's really cute. All her patterns have kind of a similar style. They're just very tall, oblong, cute little critters. This is his snout. I don't know what you call it with a dinosaur. So it's got to be sewed on. This seems a little big. I don't know. It's the right stitch count. I don't know why it's so big. It doesn't really look like the picture. So I'm hoping when I sew it on I can kind of manipulate it a little bit, but we'll see. So right now he looks kind of goofy. He needs his nose lines and then obviously a body. So those are my amigurumis. This pattern, I'm not as thrilled with it. I would not recommend it if you are not really familiar with amigurumi, because it's, I've found at least one mistake so far. At least I'm pretty sure it's a mistake, so that I had to kind of manipulate and work around. And it's just not, it's not written in a way that actually provides a lot of explanation about what you should be doing. If you haven't done amigurumi before, I think you would have a hard time with this pattern. You would have to Google and figure out a lot of things. And it is a paid for pattern. So as I mentioned earlier, that's kind of, that lowers it on my list of patterns I would recommend. So I've been doing amigurumi for years. I'm not having a problem with it. And I really like the design and the way he's going to look. So I'm happy with it from that perspective. But if you have not done amigurumi before, and if you are not comfortable kind of figuring out what your next step is supposed to be, then I would not start with this pattern. But I'm excited to see how giant he turns out to be, and I'm excited to, have little homemade presents for my boys for Valentine's Day. The little one is such a snuggler. He loves stuffed animals, so yeah, it's kind of inspired me to get back into amigurumi because he, I feel like, actually appreciates the squishy stuffed animals. That is work in progress number 2. Those are the 2 main things I'm working on these days, because it's probably by the time I post this, it won't be February 1st or January 31st. So I have like 2 weeks to finish those up, which shouldn't be a problem, as long as I keep working on them and don't get distracted and start a new project. Don't let me do that, guys. If you catch me on Instagram with something else, started, just can you yell at me please, because I need to finish these. I have a deadline. I do work best when I have deadlines, but I also tend to work last minute when I have deadlines. So I'm trying not to be finishing these up at midnight on February 13th. That's my goal. That's my goal. Okay. That concludes my, no, that does not conclude. Kind of it does. We're going to transition here. This is my acquisitions. Stashquisitions, as I like to call it. So I showed you last time my Stonewash Shrug. And we discussed how I was not very smart and I didn't buy enough yarn for the border because I didn't check the pattern. So, when I was getting the yarn for the amigurumis at Hobby Lobby, I got the, I picked up some of their I Love This yarn acrylic to match. So this is Gray Mist. Gray Mist. It's I Love This yarn, which is just, I mean, it's kind of like their Red Heart equivalent, but it's way softer than Red Heart. And it's 355 yards. So yeah, this better be enough. So I'm hoping that will coordinate well with my blues. Because like my blues and grays, I was having a hard time finding a gray that I liked that went with this. So I'm hoping this goes well. So I haven't restarted my border yet. I haven't frogged my last border that I got through. So that is sitting in the bag waiting for me to finish my amis, and then I will get this border going and finish the shrug. Because I'm tired of it, guys. This is the biggest thing I've ever made. Besides maybe a baby blanket. Because it's basically the size of a baby blanket. And it's just taking so long. I started in October. It's almost February. I should be done. But I've started like 15 other things in between it, so I'm not. Okay, so that's work in progress, kind of-ish, number 3. So hopefully that will be done soon. My other stashquisition that I have, I'm very excited about. I got a little ambitious with my Ravelry queue, and I picked out a pattern that I was going to make for my husband for Valentine's Day. Quick side note, I don't think my husband watches my podcast. He knows I podcast. I don't think he watches. But just in case, Michael, if you are watching this, please skip ahead. Don't listen. Or just don't watch. Why are you watching this? You don't crochet or do anything with yarn, so you don't need to know all the yarn that I buy. Okay, so moving on. I picked out a pattern that I really, really like and I want to make for my husband. And my lovely friend Gina of the Yet Another Yarn podcast, or the Yay Cast as she calls it. I think you have to do the jazz hands when you say Yay Cast. Yay Cast. She is actually the one who introduced me to the world of yarny crafting podcasts. I didn't know they were a thing, and she started one, and then I got addicted. So, and then she encouraged me to start my own, and so here I am. It's all Gina's fault. Gina is a knitter and a podcaster and an indie dyer. So she has a line of yarn called Squish This Yarn, which I just love that name. I think it's perfect because that's what you do. You squish all the yarn. So she does beautiful colors. The pattern I picked out for this hat is a fingering weight pattern. I don't work with fingering weight because, as we've discussed, I like fast patterns, and there's not much that you can do with fingering weight that's not going to take a while because you're going to need to use a tiny hook and a lot of yards, and it's just going to take forever. But this pattern is amazing, and I really want to do it. And yeah, so it calls for fingering weight. So I had nothing in my stash, so obviously I had to get something for it. So I texted Gina and asked what she had in a manly color, because also I have no manly colors in my stash. It's all teal and green. Yeah. Bright colors. So she had a gorgeous skein already dyed. This is her Midnight Blue? Midnight Blues? Midnight Blues. In her fingering weight base. It's a single ply fingering weight. So guys, it's beautiful. Look, it's all caked up for me. I don't have a yarn caker. Swift? Winder? What are they called? I don't know. I don't have one. I usually just do it at the store when I buy yarn from my local yarn store. But so she wound it for me. So here it is. Look at those colors. So it's like really deep blues, almost black, and then some lighter spots that are kind of almost still white with just a tint of blue. I love it. I love it. It's the tiniest yarn though. Oh my goodness. Like, look how tiny that little string is. I do not work with tiny yarns. So I think this is going to try my patience. But it will be good for me, and I will be really happy with the hat. It's a 2-color hat. So I'm going to get a gray to go with this. I'm not going to show off the pattern just yet. I'm going to keep that one a surprise until I'm actually working on it. But yes, so I'm going to go to my local yarn shop one of these days when I can get there for knit night and pick up some gray fingering weight to go with this. And it will not be a Valentine's present for my husband because there is no way I'm going to get that done. I might start it if I finish the Amis in time, or I might just make it and give it to him later for some non-cold weather holiday, like our anniversary in May, his birthday's in July. I don't have a lot of opportunity to give him cold weather stuff, and I never plan ahead for Christmas and make stuff. So I could make this and give it to him for Christmas, but that would require me to save it and keep it a secret for a long time, and I'm not very good at that either. So I'm like I buy presents and then I want to tell him about them immediately, so I have to try really hard not to buy things too far in advance and then to keep my mouth shut. So we'll see. I will make this. I'm mostly just really excited to work with this yarn and to work on that pattern because it's amazing. You guys are gonna love it once I actually show you what it is. So that is my only other acquisition besides my boring acrylic, amazing, super soft, fabulous wool. My other kind of acquisition is, we talked about this last time about how I don't have fun stitch markers and how I use bobby pins. So I decided to take matters into my own hands and make some fun stitch markers. So I got some charms and some the little necklace clasps, lobster clasp things. So I have a whole little set of stitch markers. Are you focusing? Okay, so I have, let's start here. I have a little elephant. I don't know if you can see these. A little elephant and a lion, hot pink lion, of course, and a teal zebra, and then a set of skeleton keys. And then there's a purple skeleton key is living on. My Weebee Doll. So yeah, those are my stitch markers, and I'm very happy with them. I will say though, for amigurumi, I still prefer bobby pins. I don't like having to unclasp and reclasp every round to move it up. Bobby pins just slip in and out. Super easy, but I really like these for keeping on the loop to hold my loop on so it doesn't pull out when it's in the bag. I also like them for progress keepers. So I'm very happy with them, but I will also continue to use my bobby pins. So those are my stitch markers. I'm very happy with them, and also you can't just buy like 1 or 2 charms. They come in giant bags. So, well, I guess you can. You can buy just individual charms, but those are like $3 each, or you can buy a whole bag of charms for $3. So I have a lot. I have a lot of keys, namely the animal set was just a little set of, there were 4. There was a giraffe, and his little ring broke as I was attaching it to the jump ring, so now there are 3. But I have a ton of keys. I also bought a set of letters that I want to use as kind of progress keepers, or just to attach to my project to tell me what size hook I'm using. Because I try to put my hooks away when I'm done with the project, when I'm done working on the project, so I know where they are if I need that hook for something else. But then sometimes I forget what size hook I was using when I go to pick that project back up a long time later. And if I didn't write it down in my Ravelry notes, then I have a problem. So I want to have just like a little letter attached to the project to let me know. And that only works with some of the hooks though, because I guess they don't all have letters. I always just go by the millimeters, but I can't do, I don't know, they don't make 3.75 or 5.5 charms. So for my Almies, I'm using my 3.75 millimeter, which is an F. So I'm going to make an F and hook it onto the little guys. Those are all of my stash enhancements. It's not a lot. But here's the thing. I cleaned out my craft corner, which is in my laundry room, and it had gotten a little bit out of control and a little chaotic, so I pulled everything out, went through everything I had, and I organized all my yarn into different categories into Rubbermaid tubs. Guys, I have so much yarn. I think because it was all kind of spread out and all in different places and not really in any sort of organized manner, I didn't fully know how much yarn I had. So I can't justify buying more when I have tons that I don't have a project for and I'm not using. So I'm making it a personal goal to really work through my stash. So I'm going to try, first of all, to not buy more craft store yarn, unless it's like I need something for a specific project that I have to do. Have to do? I don't know. That I've decided I'm doing and I don't have it in my stash. But for the most part, I'm going to try and pull from my stash first to try to find projects to use my stash up. And yeah, actually kind of work through some of it. So I have a giant, I mean, they're not giant. I have a good sized box full of the sugar and cream cotton. I don't know why I have this much, but I have a ton. So I'm going to start making a lot of dishcloths. I think I'm just going to make dishcloths and have them in a stack because they make great like wedding presents or housewarming presents or just like I'm thinking of you presents. So I think I'm going to just kind of build up a stash of dishcloths and also just use them myself because I really like crochet dishcloths, and I have a couple that I made years ago and they're just worn out and dingy looking now, so I'm going to freshen them up. So that's one of my goals. I also have a equal size box full of the I Love This Cotton from Hobby Lobby, which I could also use for dishcloths, but it's so soft that I feel like it's almost a waste to use it for dishcloths. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that, but I need to work through it. I use that a lot for coffee cozies, so I might make a bunch of those and also have those as just stashed gifts. And then I have a big, deep bin of acrylic craft store yarn, so I'm really trying not to get any more of that and to use up some of it. And then I have one small bin of like my local, like good local yarn store wool. And I have much less of that and very little like completely unused, untouched. A lot of it is leftover, like little bits. So I'm committing to not buying craft store acrylic yarn. I'm not going to commit to not buying good quality wool because I really want to increase my stash on that and actually focus on working primarily with that. So we'll see how that goes. Along those lines, I'm not totally stopping my stash enhancement because I signed up for Fibre Share. Have you guys seen this on Instagram? I've been following them for a couple years and I've never signed up, and I just decided to take the leap. So Fibre Share is like a fiber community swap where you fill out a survey and about what you like and what you use and who you are and what you do, and they match you with a partner, and it's international. It's all over the world, so you can sign up to ship internationally or just within your country, depending on your preferences, and they try to accommodate that. So I am so excited. I got my match email this week, so I have been matched, and they tell you who you're buying for or building for, and then who is giving to you. So you get to stalk them on Instagram, and yeah, I'm so excited. So I got my matches. I'm very excited to get started on it. So I was waiting to put anything together until I had the list of colors of what she prefers, and what her craft is and what size, weight, and all that she uses. So the minimum that you send is 200 grams of yarn, I think. So that's all you're required to send, but a lot of people throw in other goodies too. So I am a Fibre Share swap buddy. If you're watching this, you can fast forward a little bit if you don't want to know what I'm about to say. So I'm definitely going to include some stitch markers because she had even mentioned on her list of things that she's been wanting was some stitch markers, and I have a ton of charms. So I'm going to be making some of those to send, and I think I'm going to pull a little bit from my stash and then go pick out something specifically just for her at my local yarn store. So I'm really excited about that. I think the shipping deadline is early March, so I think I have a month to get it done. So I'm so excited. I'm really excited about it. So have you done Fibre Share before? I would like to hear about other people's experiences with it. So yeah, I'm mostly excited about gifting. Like, I'm just happy to put together a package for someone that I think they'll love for a complete stranger. And I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I'm excited to see what somebody puts together for me. Like, it's exciting. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna be working on next month, and I'm very excited about it. I think that's it. I don't have a lot else going on. So yeah, thanks for joining me. I feel like I didn't have a lot. I almost didn't want to podcast today because I didn't have much to say, and yet I've been talking for a really long time. So I'm going to be done now. Yeah, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sitting with me while I chat about all the things I'm working on. So I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Give me a thumbs up. I don't know what those do on YouTube, but they make me happy. Leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you, know what you're working on. Any pattern recommendations to use some of my stash, specifically my large amounts of cotton. I'd love to see them. Yeah, thanks for joining me, and you can check me out on Instagram at Samsqueak or Ravelry at Samsqueak, and subscribe below if you want to be updated the next time I get an episode out. So thanks for bearing with me, and I will talk to you soon. Bye! What are you doing? What do you need?
I'm watching what